Hi, welcome to our video tutorial. In this video tutorial we're going to see uh, actually it's a continual. We have started loop statements in the previous lesson, so in this video lesson we'll see how we can implement while loops uh, in Python. So let's create a new file, while loop statements. Okay, so while loop statement is almost the same as for loop. They both do we use both of them in scenarios where we want to implement or we want to execute some code repetitively. Okay, so what's the difference between them? The difference is, in case of for loop, we define or we provide initial point, ending point, and incremental factor in one statement, right? In for loop we have done I in range, and here we provide all the parameters, start from 1, go to 10, increment by 2. Okay, this is what we did in for loop. In while loop, the only difference is the syntax. What we are going to do is, first we have to define the initialize. We have to define and initialize the variable. So in while, I will state the condition while I less than 10. Okay, now I'll write what I want it to do, and then I have to define the incremental factor. Now what we have done is, we told Python initial point is 0, ending point is until I is less than 10. So how is I going from 0 to 10? By incrementing 1, by incrementing 2, by incrementing 3, or any pattern. So we have to specify that pattern here. What I can do is I equal to I plus 1, which means it increments by 1. Let's see. There you go. We are seeing 0 to 9. If I want, I can define the increment here. Now when we run it, we only see even numbers, right? So this is how we implement while loop. Now let's see something new here. What if we want to implement loops, nested loops, which means, what if I want to implement while loop inside another while loop, or for loop inside another for loop, or vice versa? I mean, while loop inside for loop, or for loop inside a while loop. This will help me to identify or to specify conditions, like those conditions using will use multiple loops. Okay, let me try to explain it with example. Sorry. Okay, so let's try to print something like this, an example pattern. Okay, so now we want to print something like this. To do this, we need two loops. The first one counts down, and the second one counts horizontally, so that I can draw one here, one asterisk here, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, let's try to do that here. First, let's define a for loop, and inside a for loop, for I in range starts from 0 to 5, and inside that I will create another loop called while loop. But for the while loop to work, we have to initialize first. Now x less than, I can say 6 or 10 or 2, it doesn't matter, any condition I can put. Now what I'm going to do is print asterisk. Okay, then x equal to x plus 1. This is how we implement for while loops, right? So now the while loop is included inside for loop. Then the representation or the tab spaces we used defines that. Now for loop starts from here, from the colon up to here. Okay, if we write something here, then this is outside, but everything here or here, if I write something here, it's inside. Print inside. But inside what? This one is inside for loop, and anything written here is inside while loop. You need to understand how important those tab spaces are in Python. Okay, indent doesn't match. Okay, let's try to run it and we'll see what's happening. Okay, print indentation error. See, this is what will happen in Python if we're not careful about our indentations. Now I think I missed something. Okay, so I think it's freaking me out because of this extra space. Okay, that's how Python works. So we have to be careful about our indentations, our tabs and spaces here. Okay, now let's try to run our application. Now, as you can see, let's maximize the output. What's happening is this, an asterisk output is shown, then inside while loop is presented. Now this inside while loop continues until I is less than 6, which means from 0 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. After the 6th time, the while loop ended, so it immediately comes to this line. This line represents inside for loop. So we have inside for loop printed here, and inside for loop printed once, and then again we'll come to while loop, because the for loop is doing the while loop multiple times until 0 to 5. So what we'll see is inside for loop once, and then inside while loop again, for loop, while loop again. It keeps on going 5 times, and then after inside for loop it will come and print outside. This one is outside both the for loop and the while loop, depending on its indentation. Okay, this is all about indentation. Now let's finish our printing code. Let's see what it does now. Now, as you can see, what it does is it just prints all of them down. How many are they? We can multiply them here. This one prints them 5 times, and each 5 times prints them 6 times. So it's like 30 asterisk here. Now let's put some arrangement here. First, let's declare a variable here to hold those patterns. So let's call it a pattern, and it's empty by default. Now in here, rather than printing each and everything, let's try to create let's try to concatenate the asterisks so that we can print them at once. Okay, now after while loop is ended, I can print what I have in the pattern variable. Let's run our application and see. There you go. Now this one is printing 5 in the first run, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, if we want, we can start from 1. So let's make this thing less than 1. Let's try it. There you go. This is what we want, right? So this is how we implement nested loops. It can be for loop inside a while loop. Still, I can add another loop inside the nested while loop. Okay, it doesn't matter how deep I'm going, as long as we are very careful about our indentations and the variables we have been using, because when we go deeper in nested loops, things get very complicated quickly. So we have to manage that carefully. But as long as Python is concerned, we're good to go. Okay, so this is it about while loop. So if you have any questions, comments, and suggestions, it will be very helpful for us if you put it in the comment section below. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll get notifications whenever we add new videos to our channel, new tutorial videos, of course. Okay, so thank you very much for watching.